The story begins in a quiet American neighborhood where nothing seemed out of place, where neighbors waved politely, and where a small pink house stood as a symbol of charity, resilience, and what appeared to be a mother's unwavering devotion
to her sick child. But behind that carefully constructed image lay one of the most disturbing and psychologically complex true crime cases.
In recent history, a case that would force the nation to confront the horrifying reality of abuse hidden behind sympathy and kindness. The case of Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her mother Dee Dee Blanchard. A story that, at first glance, seemed like a tragedy.
Illness, but slowly unraveled into a nightmare of manipulation, control, and ultimately, murder. For years, Dee Dee presented her daughter,
Gypsy, as severely ill, claiming she suffered from leukemia, muscular dystrophy, seizures, and a long list of other chronic conditions.
For young women like her, confined to a wheelchair and fed through tubes, the daily challenges of countless medical procedures can be overwhelming.
All while receiving donations, free trips, and housing from charities, neighbors, and organizations that believed they were helping a dying child. And no one questioned it. Why would they? Dee Dee appeared to be the perfect caregiver, attentive, self-sacrificing, always by her daughter's side, while Gypsy, with her soft voice and childlike demeanor, seemed fragile and dependent, a girl trapped in a body that could barely function. But the truth was far darker than anyone could have imagined, because Gypsy was not sick, at least not in the ways her mother claimed. And as the years passed, subtle inconsistencies began to surface. Whispers that something wasn't quite right, doctors who suspected exaggeration but lacked enough evidence to intervene, neighbors who noticed Gypsy could. Over time, people began questioning the complex dynamics surrounding the situation and the influence one individual appeared to have over those around her. A psychological disorder in which a caregiver fabricates or induces illness in someone under their care to gain attention and sympathy. What do you want to explore?
But in this case, it went beyond attention. It became a prison, a life sentence for Gypsy, who grew up believing she was sick,
dependent, and incapable of living without her mother, until slowly, painfully, she began to realize that her entire life was a lie. As Gypsy entered her teenage years, she started to question the reality imposed on her, noticing that she could walk
when no one was watching, that she didn't feel as sick as her mother insisted she was, that her age didn't match
the person she saw in the mirror. But questioning Dee Dee was dangerous, because Dee Dee maintained absolute control, isolating Gypsy from the outside world, homeschooling her, monitoring her every move, and when Gypsy tried to assert independence, punishments were swift.
Over time, the situation appeared increasingly restricted and emotionally overwhelming, creating a sense of isolation and loss of personal freedom.
And yet, even in the darkest circumstances, a spark of rebellion began to grow inside Gypsy, fueled by curiosity and a longing for freedom she had never experienced. And that spark found its outlet in the most unexpected place, the internet.
Behind her mother's back, Gypsy began exploring online chat rooms and social media, discovering a world beyond the confines of her home.
Online spaces gradually became a place where she could express a different side of herself and experience a sense of independence, eventually leading to a significant new connection. A young man with his own troubled past, socially isolated, deeply emotional, and vulnerable to manipulation, their connection was immediate and intense.
Built on shared loneliness and a desire to escape their realities. And as their relationship deepened, Gypsy confided in him about her life.
About the abuse, the lies, the suffocating control of her mother, painting a picture so horrifying that Nicholas became convinced he was the only one who could save her, and what started as an online romance quickly spiraled into something far more dangerous.
A plan that would change both of their lives forever. The idea of escape transformed into a darker solution.
One that seemed, to Gypsy, like the only way out, because every attempt to break free had failed, every plea ignored or punished, leaving her feeling trapped in an endless cycle of control. And so, in the depths of desperation, they discussed the unthinkable. The murder of Dee Dee Blanchard. Their conversations, later uncovered by investigators, revealed a chilling progression from fantasy to reality.
As they meticulously planned the act, discussing methods, timing, and the aftermath, all while convincing themselves that it was justified.
That it was the only way for Gypsy to finally live a normal life. And as the plan solidified, the tension grew, a ticking clock counting down to a moment that would shatter the illusion of the perfect mother and her sick child.
On the night of June 14, 2015, Nicholas traveled to Gypsy's home in Springfield, Missouri, entering the house quietly as Dee Dee slept.
Unaware that the world she had so carefully constructed was about to collapse, Gypsy waited in the bathroom, her heart racing, as Nicholas carried out the act they had planned, the sound of violence echoing through the small house, marking the end.
Dee Dee's life and the beginning of a new, uncertain chapter for Gypsy. But freedom did not come as easily as she imagined.
Because the aftermath of the crime quickly unraveled, exposing the truth to the world. After the murder, Gypsy and Nicholas fled, leaving behind a scene that would soon draw authorities. But it wasn't the scene that first alerted others. It was a series of Facebook posts
from Dee Dee's account, messages that read like a confession and a cry for attention, causing friends and neighbors to panic and call police.
And when officers arrived at the house, they discovered Dee Dee's body, but Gypsy was nowhere to be found, leading to fears that she had been kidnapped or was in danger, because everyone still believed she was a helpless, sick girl incapable of surviving on her own.
And the urgency of the search intensified, spreading across media outlets, drawing national attention, until investigators traced the activity to Wisconsin,
where they found both him and Gypsy alive. And it was in that moment, as Gypsy stood on her own 2 feet, healthy and capable, that the shocking truth began to emerge. The revelations stunned everyone, neighbors, friends, even seasoned investigators.
Because the image of Gypsy as a terminally ill child was so deeply ingrained that seeing her walk and speak normally felt almost surreal.
And as the layers of deception were peeled back, the full extent of Dee Dee's abuse came to light. Medical records revealing unnecessary procedures, testimonies exposing years of manipulation, and Gypsy's own account painting a picture of a life controlled by fear and lies, transforming the narrative from a simple murder case into a complex story of victimhood and survival. Yet, despite the sympathy,
the fact remained that she had played a role in her mother's death, raising difficult questions about responsibility, justice, and the human psyche.
And as the case moved through the legal system, it became a national conversation, sparking debates about Munchausen by proxy, the failures of medical and social systems to detect abuse, and the moral gray areas surrounding Gypsy's actions. With some viewing her, public opinion surrounding the case became deeply divided, with different people interpreting her actions and circumstances in very different ways.
And the courtroom became the stage where these conflicting perspectives played out. Ultimately, Gypsy accepted a plea deal,
pleading guilty to second-degree murder and receiving a 10-year prison sentence, a punishment many considered lenient given the circumstances, while Nicholas, who carried out the physical act, faced a more severe sentence, convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life,
without the possibility of parole, highlighting the different roles they played and the legal system's attempt to balance justice with compassion.
But even as the verdicts were delivered, the story did not end there, because the psychological impact continued to resonate. Not just for those directly involved, but for society as a whole. The Gypsy Rose Blanchard case serves as a haunting reminder of how easily appearances can deceive, how abuse can hide behind the guise of care, and how the human mind, pushed to its limits,
can make choices that blur the line between right and wrong, leaving us with questions that have no easy answers.
Questions about how such a situation could go unnoticed for so long, about the responsibility of those who might have intervened, and about the nature of freedom when it comes at such a devastating cost. And as the years pass, the story continues to captivate.
A chilling tale of control, deception, and the desperate pursuit of escape, reminding us that sometimes the most terrifying stories
are not the ones we imagine, but the ones that unfold in plain sight, hidden behind smiles, charity, and the illusion of love.